See, the church was created so that mankind and womankind can depend solely on them, while they depend on the government. Because if you look in the churches today, you remember when Bush was in office? How can any of us forget, right? The Bush administration created a federal grant for each church. It was called the faith-based, what was it? The faith-based grant. And they was willing to finance churches. This is one of the reasons why you see a lot of American flags in churches now. And if you happen to walk into a church and it has an American flag in there, there's a very good chance that pastor is getting paid every month. And the stipulation with that is they will finance your church as long as you don't speak anything against the government. And as long as you continue to encourage your congregation to take part in the voting process and, government dealings. However, Yeshua said, my kingdom is not of this world. And who did he say that to? He said it to Pontius Pilate, who was a politician. You are not supposed to be involved in any political dealings in this world. When Obama was coming into office, it was a whole lot of so-called black people voting for him simply because of the color of his skin. And then when he got in office, Obama was dropping bombs everywhere. He spilled so much blood, just like all the rest of the presidents did. And so when I was out speaking in little short gatherings, I would ask them, how do you feel now? You voted this man in. You set him in that seat. So all of the blood that you see him spilling overseas, that blood is on your hands too. And a lot of people say, no, it's not on my hands. Yes, it is. Because Yeshua told you, do not participate. He said, my kingdom is not of this world. He said, render that which is Caesar's and you render God. Render God what is God. What does that mean? Pay your taxes. That's it. That's all you have to do is pay your taxes. As a follower of Yeshua's example, that is the only thing that you should do in terms of cooperation with this government. Pay your taxes. That's the law of the land. It's that simple. Now a lot of people say, you're not being realistic. Yeah, I'm being very realistic. It's just that we've been programmed and educated and therefore miseducated against what the message is all about. And if you look at the message is very humane. The only thing he's telling you is how to think like a human being. If the government is dropping bombs on people overseas, spilling the blood of people overseas and creating wars all over the planet, I'm not going to vote any of these politicians in because I don't support anything that this government is about. You vote a man in the seat, whether he's black, white, green, or yellow. You're responsible for everything that he does from that point on, because you helped sit him in that seat.
When you're living in an environment that is hostile, that is a dual environment, to where you got things that are beneficial to you in the environment and things that are non-beneficial to you. My whole thing, as I told them today, here it is. How can you, because of a statement that I said previously in the meeting, when I told them, okay, It says in your book that God created Lucifer perfect. Now, this was before Lucifer was cast out of heaven. So we're talking about a conversation that God is having with Lucifer. He said, when I created you perfect. Where is this conversation taking place? According to your book, this conversation is taking place in the eternal and therefore heaven. And then he said, until, I'm just paraphrasing, until, he's talking about a time element, until I found iniquities in you. I created you perfect first, and then I found iniquities in you. So how did those iniquities get inside of Lucifer? Now one of them said, well, God gave Lucifer freedom of choice. We don't really have freedom of choice. It sounds like God's freedom of choice concept is equivalent to the freedom that this Babylonian system gives us or says that we obtain. Now, when I said that, they said, well, how so? Well, God gives us freedom of choice according to you. However, you're up under a law. There's rules and regulations. You have freedom of choice. However, if you choose this, you're going to hell. What if there's freedom of choice, and if I choose the wrong thing, whether unknowingly or knowingly, then why should I have to pay the price? But you've given me freedom to choose whatever I want. I mean, it's equivalent to this government system. Oh, you have your freedom, but if you break these rules, you're going to prison. Or if you do thus and so, we're going to lock you up. It's equivalent. It's equivalent. So they say, well, we don't agree with you. I could care less if you don't agree with me. I don't care. I'm only interested in doing the work. I don't care. It also says that all of the evil, all of the good that is created, all of the evil that is allowed to transpire, it is God that admitted that all these things I do. God does these things. Do implies that I'm presently in activation. Whatever you see going on in this world, whether it's good or evil, I'm doing it. So we're talking about environment here. Whatever's going on in the environment, even if it's perceived as evil, it is God allowing these things to function. This is in your book. This is in your book. The Beatitude is a psychological, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual guide on how to approach people who are lost in their immoral activity. For you to be taught of how to do all of that in which is going to eventually help the people, you must look at oneself. That's what the Beatitudes were all about. This is the reason why Yeshua had to speak to them first. Because he saw his disciples with a major problem. You can hate sin. You can hate immorality. But you must love those who are lost. That's the only way you're going to be able to be inspired to even want to approach them in order to pull them out of the abyss that they are currently living in. If you do not love the people, you cannot help the people. He was preparing them not to condemn the people along with the vices in which had them captive. Whether it's whatever vice it was. When Mary Magdalene came to him, and when the other woman who was caught in adultery came to him, he didn't condemn the women, he condemned the sin itself. And what did he tell them? Go and sin no more. He said that to both of them. He gave them a choice. Let he who is without, you might as well say flaws, cast the first judgment towards anyone. We are all human beings. It means we are all duals. We all have dual components. We have a good side, we have a bad side. The problem is, a whole lot of human beings today ignore their flaws and they want to step over the bridge and into the fields where they are not going to be effective, no matter how hard they try, because they haven't gotten inside their closet and cleaned it up. See, the Beatitudes imply for us to be in this state of mind and spirit. It's not a process. Be implies the present. You already have what you need, so just be. It doesn't imply become. It's not a process. It's not a measurement of time. It's not a process. It's not a cultivation. It's not a development. It is here and now. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. That's you. Are you pure in heart? But that you may be able to see God. And not only seeing God, but God's mind, God's way. Is this you, the body of Christ? Now go ahead and say I'm wrong. That's fine. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. How about when you and your group of people go to these churches with your blowhorns and you stand outside and you turn your blowhorns on and you disrupt the service? Or you go in the pastor's office and you sit down with the elders, and instead of communicating with them, using your divine intelligence to get your point across to them, that they may become enlightened or informed of why you are not inside of the church institution, that maybe you and them can become one, agreement, to where we can work together to make this world a better place. You come in violent, you come in attacking me. What about you, Hebrew Israelites, who stand outside the churches? Some of you walk in the church and disrupt things. It says, blessed are the peacemakers. for they shall be called the children of God. Are you considered a children of God after your disruptive behavior? No, you're not. Humility is key. The Quran says, you can tell the peacemakers, for they walk the earth in humility. See, a lot of people say, I'm humble. That don't mean, that's equivalent to being calm about something. But do you walk in humility? How do you respond to things? When someone disagrees with you, do you fly off the handle? Are you meek? Do you fly off the handle? Or do you react instead of responding? Which is a big distinction. Reaction is emotion. To respond is intellectual as well as spiritual. And that is carried and motivated by way of intelligence and wisdom. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. The kingdom of heaven is within you. And when you understand that and you motivate yourself through that truth, you're going to get persecuted. How many of you get persecuted? But I do know a whole lot of you are the ones who do the persecuting. See, everything is how you treat other human beings. And I've been saying this for years, many years. It doesn't matter what you say you believe. If you do not know how to treat other human beings, what you say you believe means nothing. You just believe it. It's not a fact to you. It's a belief, and belief is for the uncertain. Blessed are ye when men shall revile and persecute, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Church, Nation of Islam, Exalted Ministries. I've been through that. Am I putting myself above you? The scriptures speak for me. I'm only interested in doing the work, and that is one of the reasons why so many people lie upon me. That's why I say I'm a disciple. I'm not a Christian. It's all about how you treat other human beings. You have to make up your mind. As Denzel Washington's character says. Now, some of you may say, oh, well, this is not a good comparison. But it's my favorite part. In the movie Training Day, when he was talking to that brother on the freeway when they pulled over. And I totally got that part. When he said, you have to make up your mind whether you're going to be wolf or sheep. Blessed are you when men shall revile and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. How many of you are suffering that? And how many of you are the ones who are persecuted? And the last one, rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven. were so persecuted, they, the prophets, which were before. Isn't that a wonderful thing? I fulfill that as well. Am I implying that I'm better? Not at all. I love all of you brothers, all of you, and sisters. If you really want to do this work for humanity, because it's a work for humanity, this is not a religion. The man left us a beautiful message of where we have to first look within ourselves. This is the reason why he had to separate himself from the people and went up in a mountain, a private area. And he waited for the disciples to wonder where he was. And when they came to him, that is what came out of his mouth. He was giving them instructions on how to approach the people and how to act towards the people. Because, as he said, it's all about his Father's business. And he did not want any foul attitude to get in the way of doing the work, delivering the message. It's all about how you treat the people. As I've said before, you cannot help them if you do not love them. And if you feel as though you have to know them personally in order to love them, that you may be able to help them, you are not in the right mind. Because we were not against flesh and blood, but of principality. Everything is true. Whether you're familiar with them or not, genetically. Whether you're familiar with them or not, in that state of mind and perception to where we say, this person is a stranger. They're not a stranger. What was beautiful to me also about Yeshua, he didn't see anyone as a stranger. And I've tried that. And his approach and his attitude and his generosity of his counsel demonstrated that. He didn't discriminate in terms of giving counsel. I've gave counsel to gang members. I've gave counsel to even Nazi skinheads. I sat up and I talked to 8 Nazi skinheads. 8. And 6 of them, this day, are no longer skinheads. Because I offered my time to them. I didn't condemn them because they were Nazi skinheads. I didn't care. I've studied the book that Hitler wrote, Mein Kampf. I've studied German history. I've studied Hitler and the Nazi Party, the Germanic occult, the genetic, all of those things. I've studied them. I understood those guys are victims. The same as a whole lot of Christians and a whole lot of Muslims are victims of being taught wrong. Coming from backgrounds in which caused them to be angry and resentful and defiant. However, they mistakenly come in contact with some people who understand that these people are hurt and they're bleeding on the inside. And so they give them this information and they teach it to them in a way to where it only speaks to their hurt and their frustrations. And it doesn't do anything but increase it. It doesn't heal them. We are peacemakers. and therefore we're healers. You use the message to heal. You use the message not to condemn them along with what's ruling them on the inside. We use the message to guide and not to misguide by way of our lack of humility and understanding in our approach. This is the reason why he had to teach them how to come at the people. He had to pull them away because obviously he read something in the disciples and he said, okay, we got all these people out here. I'm listening to Matthew and all of them, and internally, they are not ready to approach the people. So I have to teach them. And the most important, and you know what's coming, as he said, be ye therefore perfect, as your Father in heaven is also perfect. Talking about himself. And he's talking about your state of being if you say that you are following his example. And we're not, again, talking about something tangible as far as being perfect. It's not a point of view. It's a state of being which is sacred. Be ye therefore perfect, as your Father in heaven is also perfect. Now, if you study the Beatitudes, and if you are able to understand exactly how he was teaching the disciples to be towards humanity, that humanity can understand themselves and be able to save themselves by way of example. You can't say that you follow his example, and then when you speak to the people, they don't see you as an example. Because you beating up on them. All you doing is condemning them, telling them they're going to hell and all of that. You're not ready. You're not ready at all. Because you don't have any love on the inside. You have no compassion. This video is going to focus on environment and the effects of environment in combination of humanity and what's within the environment, in which caused a whole lot of us to either unconsciously conform to it simply because we were born into this environment. And when we become conscious enough to subconsciously conform to things that we find attractive or enjoyable. You know, a lot of you say that you make the same points a whole lot. My point in making these videos in regards to the message and humanity, because what Yeshua, his message was based upon his observation of environment and therefore humanity, the social structure of the planet. So what we're going to have to understand is that, as I said before, this goes beyond religious doctrine. As I said before, this was a righteous, good man who was injected into the fold of religion. He was not a religious man, as many of you already know. But I want to move forward because I would like to cover something that is very important. The effects of humanity in regards to the political structure of the planet, not just this country, but the political structure of the planet and its fundamentals. Now, over here in America, I was going around, and I'm still going around, speaking to a whole lot of quote unquote Black people. And I recall when Obama was on his way into office, and I was telling a whole lot of Black people in this country, don't be so quick to vote for him without understanding where his mind and his heart is. But Black people have suffered so much turmoil in this country to the degree that we've had leaders that have become exhausted with trying to include us into the system that we may be, quote unquote, equal to the Babylonians. Now, I'm speaking to the part of the world community who are following the example, who understand the message conclusively based upon common humanity. Because the message was based upon the righteousness of humanity. It's a very humanitarian message that has some basic fundamentals on how to be and how to respond and how to act. That is the gospel. You know, there's a reason why he was called the Savior, because he relayed a message that gave a lot of us insight on what we should conform to and what we shouldn't conform to, because he was a non-conformist. And what saves you is becoming a non-conformist. All the way back in the days of Rome, one of the primary reasons why the disciples had started getting killed by Emperor Nero was because they were speaking to the people and they were revealing to the people of how they should not conform to Roman culture and therefore the Western culture, because they had said it would be an endangerment to their mortal souls. And so once a whole lot of people ended participating in what is today called sports, the gladiators, which is today the boxing, and the ultimate fighting today, because when you observe those things and once you concentrate on those things are equivalent to the immoral music in which we're consuming today, which is hip hop, rock and roll, a whole lot of things that affect a person's minds and therefore their thinking and therefore their personality. And this is one of the reasons why our youth are out of control this day, right along with them falling victims of having parents who are irresponsible. But the reason why I bring that up is what was used even before Obama showed up, what provoked a whole lot of Black people in this country to quickly and blindly vote for Obama, even though a whole lot of us would complain about racism when Obama showed up with his Black skin. We became racist, and we voted him in simply because of the color of his skin. And what I noticed about what Obama did, he understood the common mentality of the Black people in this country because of the historical account of the civil rights movement. You had a community that was divided based upon the ideology that Dr. King and Brother Malcolm left behind. So some of us have this dual ideology sitting up inside of us. Some of us agree with the nonviolent theology. Some of us agreed with the self-defense ideology. And so those are the two primary thinking patterns of Black people in this country. What I noticed about Obama is when he stood up and he spoke for the first time, if you really observe Obama, here's a tall, very handsome Black man like Brother Malcolm. He's tall, thin. He spoke with a deep voice like Brother Malcolm. When he talked, he moved like Brother Malcolm. He pointed like Brother Malcolm. He looked around as he was talking like Brother Malcolm and Dr. King. But his language was Martin Luther King, Brother Martin Luther King. That was his language. And so he used those two images and he put it out there and he mixed them up to attract both mentality from the Black community and also to attract the white community to feel safe because he spoke like Dr. King, but he reminds us of Malcolm and Dr. King together because he combined those two men together in order to attract both communities, in which cultivated into a formula of hope. That's how he got the masses. He got the masses that way. Now, I said before that the Black community in this country before Obama were being conditioned to accept an Obama because of the weapon of the plight of racism. Every February, we would sit up and we would watch these historical accounts of the civil rights movement. We would sit up and we would watch the fire, our elders get beat up by police and sprayed by water hoses and all of those things. That makes us angry, So it's almost like a yearly inoculation of hatred towards not only white people, but even some Black people who allowed themselves to stand there and withstand that unnecessary punishment in which they didn't provoke. They would offer themselves to go to jail when they haven't done anything wrong. They went out there, they're trying to march so that they can achieve rights and privileges as equal as whites. So the effects of racism, and seeing this every month, it put us in the mentality to where we say, okay, if we ever get in office, we're gonna do to them what they did to us. Now, one of the reasons why the government knew that that's how we were feeling is because they programmed us to feel as such, as well as the Black leaders programmed us. The reality programmed us. However, even though we were conscious of Black community, it blinded us to our humanity and our gift of intelligence. When Obama showed up, the community immediately voted for him due to the fact that he looked like us, like the Black community. He spoke well. Oh, he spoke so well. He didn't say anything that you have not already heard. Hope. He stood up there, he moved like a Brother Malcolm. But he spoke like a Dr. King. And that was to, as I said before, pull in both basic mentalities of the Black community, and as well as cause the white community to feel safe, as well as hope the same as other people in our community. Seeing the civil rights footage causing anger and resentment. And when he comes in, because of that, without him having to convince Black people that he was actually going to do something, all you saw was this. All you saw was this. And without him even saying anything, you figure he was going to look out for you. Oh, he's going to do this. He's going to do that. He didn't do anything. As a matter of fact, we had more police brutality during Obama's administration than any other administration that I've ever seen in my 60 years. Now, a lot of people will get emotional and totally deny what I just said. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I mean, look at the condition of the community today. Look at the condition of the world today. Haven't gotten any better. It's gotten worse. And I'm not totally saying that it's because of what Obama did and didn't do. Obama is a politician. And what the world's going to have to understand, especially the Black community, in terms of having a president who bears your likeness. When you become a politician, you're no longer a human being. As you know, the politicians who are involved in this government, who speak up for humanity, they don't last too long. A lot of those politicians are forced to retire. A lot of them are made exhausted to the degree where when they try to make the world a better place that's going to benefit the general public, a lot of their ideas are ignored, if not dismissed altogether. And those are the politicians that are within this government system who serve their time and they just decide they might as well go and retire because, the system makes them feel as though they're not only expendable, but useless altogether. You know, that's the way it is. So all of this is being discussed because the whole thing is despite of the horrible things that we've seen in the civil rights movement, in spite of what the elders who are still living this day tell us face to face about the horrors of the civil rights movement, all we can do is get angry, and that's it. But there's still no solutions. I mean, if you look at the condition of the world right now, the world is going further and further into darkness because a whole lot of things that are affecting the society this day is totally swallowing up humanity itself. We have the wicked politicians who are destroying the economy. We have these wicked celebrities that are destroying the moral fiber of the country by way of their perverse and wicked influence, especially in the Black community. There's a lot going on to where you can get caught up in it. You can get caught up on what's going on in this world. And it's only because of conformity. You conform to it. And this is why I always stress to even the Christian community. But those of us who are disciples understand, or non-conformants understand what is activating in this society, in this environment, is detrimental to your mental health, your emotional stability. And all of this is going to eventually affect your spirit. It's going to exhaust you. But that's only if you continue to conform. Conform. This is one of the reasons why he said, my kingdom is not of this world. I feel as though if you understand that statement alone, that right there tells you that you should understand the importance of being a non-conforming. You should allow your intelligence to activate the moment you understand exactly what that means. And that right there will guide you through this storm that we're living in right now. I mean, I'm struggling a lot to pull myself away from boxing because boxing is just legalized brutality. That's all it is. Sports, I mean, if you really pay attention to all of the time and effort and attention that you put into sports, it's amazing how much time, if you were to be able to look back and understand all of the time that we have burnt and lost just sitting up 3 and 4 and 5 hours looking at sports, when we could be doing things that are a lot more productive to make this planet a much more easier place to exist. And when people like myself and other people talk like this, we're looked upon as lame. I really don't care how you feel. I really don't care how you think. But the whole thing is, people as ourselves, we are looked upon as being unrealistic simply because Rome has brought and ushered in a false reality from the very start. And you've conformed to it, and it's became a culture and a tradition. And you actually think that it's a reality when it was from the very beginning just exactly what they called it, a game. It's all a game. It's all an illusion. And it has forever been such. Conformity. It's always been an illusion. It's forever been an illusion. And so the campaign that I continue to speak of on the West Side is going to happen this summer. It's going to happen in North Las Vegas as well, because there are a lot of people getting further involved in this so that we can create the communities a more safer and better place to exist in. We want to be able to build a better relationship with the youth today, also with their parents, that we may be able to communicate a lot more openly and more comfortably, that we can affect change starting in the mind. As I said in other videos and other videos that you may hear on YouTube of the people who are very much concerned about the environment, we have to be able to communicate with one another. And that is what I was always stressing during my Exalt Ministries video, when me and Sister Kim was sitting up talking, and I was telling her, as I mentioned, that if I can't come to my brothers and sisters and talk to them and get counsel from them, you know, when she said, you have to be careful, and I wouldn't advise you to get close to anyone here. She said, because people disappoint. And so I told her, well, if I can't speak to anyone here, if I can't, you know, talk to my brother and sister openly and honestly and build a personal relationship with them and them with myself, then what are we doing? It had all boiled down to, if you take all of that, what I just mentioned away, all you're left with is a group of people who only wanted to cultivate a ministry for the sake of wealth and not for the sake of helping individual people get through this life journey a lot more easier than they have, because they've come in contact with people who have died to their former selves, and they are consistently becoming more alive and more alive. And when you become more alive, then it means you become more enlightened, and you're able to converse with people openly and honestly, and the Creator will be able to utilize you for the purpose of making humanity a better place to live, which is the planet Earth. It all works in tandem like that. So this video is about the dangers of conforming. As I always say, you know, a lot of people say, well, bro, your videos talk about the same thing. The gospel, the Bible speaks of nonconformity. It's a message of nonconformance. In the Quran, Muhammad spoke of non-conformist. When he said a Muslim is one who submits to do the will of God, which means they are in opposition of doing the will of man. So they are non-conformists as well. They submit to do the will of God. The same way Yeshua told his disciples to submit to do the will of the Father. It's the same thing. And the disciples back during those times understood that, at least most of them. But I'm going to cut this short, and I may do a follow-up video of this, but I just wanted to make this quick video right quick. But we have to understand how racism was used as a weapon to set us up to participate in this Babylonian system. Because when Obama's second term, 98% of Black people in this country voted Obama in, and it was the same percentage in his first term. But as I said before, when you participate in this government system in terms of the voting process, what you do is when you vote someone into office, once you vote them in, not only is that president, Black or white, responsible for the decisions that they make in this country or outside the country in regards to war and famine and all of those things, you're responsible as well because you participated in the voting process. You participated. So whatever blood that they choose to spill overseas or even here, that blood is on your hand as well. This is the reason why he said, conform not to the things of this world. Just pay your taxes and that's it. Think of the man who flew that plane over Japan, over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And he dropped those 2 atomic bombs and killed over 500,000 people. And then he turned that plane right back around and flew back to America, landed that plane, and went in and embraced his family. Right after he killed generations of people because he submit to the will of this government system. Conform not. This is one of the reasons why the message is so important. This is the reason why he is called the Savior, because if you understand the message clearly, it will save you a lot of hardship. If you understand the message clearly, you would know not to participate any politicians, aims. Stay out of the voting system. Stay out of the functions and means of this government system. Just pay your taxes and obey the laws of the land. As long as they line up with righteousness, obey the laws of the land. But if it compromises your moral principles, stand up for yourself and don't accept it. Don't accept it. Get together with some people who a lot of people consider today like-minded and make the changes that you can. But never compromise your moral standards for any government system. And what I didn't understand about Dr. King, I have to mention this. By him being a PhD in theology, I'm pretty certain he understood the basic formula of the Creator sending people towards a suffering people to separate them from Pharaoh, to separate them from those who had them oppressed. However, Dr. King was trying to integrate us with Babylon. Until that day, he woke up and he said, I'm afraid that I am integrating my people into a burning house. Don't integrate into this burning house. Don't conform. Whether you're Christian, whether you're a disciple, whether you're a Muslim, don't lose yourself. Me, I'm a member of humanity because that goes in harmony with what the principles within the definition of a disciple is. One who is being crystallized into the oneness of the Father, following the example or message of Yeshua the Christ. The enlightened, as they call the Buddha, the enlightened. As they call Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. The enlightened, those are the enlightened. So with that being said, I'm going to cut this short, and I most likely will do a follow-up video with this. But thank you for listening, and everyone have a beautiful night. And as you can tell, I feel much better than my video, my previous videos. What's been going on with me, I don't know if you noticed, but I've been looking very exhausted, and not only because I work nights, but I'm starting to take B12 vitamins now. B12 vitamins, because I've always had an issue with B vitamins previously. I would say like years ago, I would notice that any B vitamins would make me sleepy. And so, as the body changes and everything, I was concerned of what I would be able to do in terms of energy. And so I not too long got a full physical, and I don't have any health problems. I just told my personal doctor, even though I don't have any high blood pressure, any diabetes, really nothing is wrong, I just don't understand why I'm always tired and sleepy. And he gave me a prescription for this B vitamin that you can't get over the counter. And so once and he said, you're only going to have to take these for like a week, to build your strength back up, because my body was suffering from exhaustion. So I was always tired. So, I'm on B vitamins now, and I feel great. So, okay. With all that being said, I hope someone got something out of this video. And I'm pretty certain that I've missed a few points, and so I'm going to do a follow-up video on this, because this is a huge subject. And so everyone have a good night and stay human.